Hello and welcome to Straight Talk with Arun Kumar. Tonight's show is sponsored by Jane Miller. Jane Miller is one of the top-selling real estate agents in the county of Middlesex, the state of New Jersey. Tonight's topic is very unique. Tonight's topic is about internship opportunities in White House. And tonight's guests are also unique in what they achieved. They are probably the first twins to attend the White House for the internship opportunities. Tonight's guests are two college-going students. Let's introduce them. We have Dennis Cherian and we have Daisy. Dennis, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Dennis. I am going to be a sophomore at Villanova University this coming year. I am studying finance, and in the past I interned with Senator Sam Thompson, who is a legislator in New Jersey, as well as the New Jersey Treasury Department. And this past summer I was lucky enough to have the honor of working in the White House, and I'm excited to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Daisy?
And my name is Daisy Cherian. I'm Dennis's twin sister. I am also from East Brunswick, New Jersey. I attend college at Boston College, where I'm studying accounting. Last summer, I also worked at the Treasury in New Jersey. And this summer, I had the privilege of working at the White House and interning there this summer, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, with their internship, Dennis and Daisy made big, not just in the Indian American community, but also in the American circles in general. So let's start with you, Daisy. So how does this whole thing work? Many people, when I said I'm doing a show on internship in White House, many people thought that was a joke. They didn't believe me. So is that true?
No, I mean, basically what the White House internship is they offer the opportunity for young adults from all over the country to come to DC and gain an inside perspective on the executive branch and how it works. So they have a lot of professional development opportunities for people who are interested in public policy and a lot of leadership opportunities. So it's a great program. They select 100 to 120 interns from all across the country, and they have a lot of things that they could experience down in DC.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's a lot more than just a summer job. I mean, there's a guest speaker series that the White House organizes. So we have people like Secretary of Defense General Mattis. We have people like Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Ben Carson come to speak to us and give us advice on how to become a good leader. Then on top of that, you have just different events for professional development. So they teach us how to give an interview properly, how to become a good candidate for a job. And they just let us have opportunities to really give back to the community.
Like leadership training.
Yeah, leadership training and just volunteering in general. You know, we're White House interns, but that doesn't mean we're above going to a homeless shelter and helping out, right? Or cleaning a park bench or something like that. And I think they really drill that into you too, because I think sometimes when you're young and you go to DC, you can get a big head, so they make you clean all the leaves off the park benches. Right. And then you remember, hey, you're just a kid and you're lucky to be here.
So what's the application process? How does it work?
Well, it's an online application process, and the actual application opens several months before the internship starts, so you have to start pretty early.
So which season of the year is it? Spring, fall?
There's 3 different seasons. There's a spring one, a summer one, and a fall one. So we were in the summer internship. Okay. And so it's a pretty in-depth online application. You answer about 12 short answer questions, and then a longer memo you have to write, and then you need letters of recommendation and some different parts as well. But that's basically the application process.
Yeah, and then after that application process, once they select interns, then they put you through a very basic security check. You want to weed out the crazy people who dance naked or whatever in the White House. You don't want those people.
Yeah, so. We're not eligible, basically.
Yeah.
So what's the duration of this internship? Is it how many weeks?
10 weeks.
10 weeks
long. Yeah.
Okay. 10 weeks from the date you enter there.
Yeah, so we were there from about May 30th to August 10th, so 10 weeks, yeah.
So how did you come to know about this? Because many people did not know until a few days ago, until I told them.
Well, we always had this spark of interest in government and politics from when we were very little. We'd watch History Channel with our dad. We'd watch political documentaries. So there was always that interest, and we always knew that the internship program existed. I mean, it's been a part of the American political scene for a long time. But about maybe a year ago, we started speaking to some of our political mentors, and they told us about this opportunity that we should really look into it. So that's when we got seriously interested.
So do you need any recommendation? Do I need to know Mr. Trump for this? Or?
No, I mean, in the internship application process, they do ask for some recommendations for people you know well who could speak to your character and to your work ethic. But if you just work hard, get involved, that's all you really need. They're just looking for people who are passionate about the country.
So is there like an age restriction?
There are some requirements. You need to be at least 18 years old,
Okay.
and you need to be a U.S. citizen, and then also you need to be currently enrolled in a graduate or undergraduate college, or if you have already graduated within 2 years of graduating, or if you went to the military right after high school, then that is
Right.
eligible as well.
I'm going to put you in a spot here, Dennis, because you've been in my show before.
Mm.
Do you have to be a born citizen, or is it okay if you're a naturalized citizen?
You can be a naturalized citizen. There's absolutely
You
no-
passed my test. Okay.
Yeah,
As long
you
as
can
you're a
do- hey,
citizen.
hey, we'll see you there. We should see you there. Come.
Yeah. So as long as you're a citizen, that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there like you go to the White House website, or is there
Yeah.
like a special website?
Yeah,
for it, or-
it should be on whitehouse.gov.
Okay.
There should be a tab that
Right.
says internship program. The application will open a couple of months in advance, so it's really a good idea to get the jump on it and really just finish it early on because it's a very lengthy process. And on top of course, the regular application, then there's medical forms to turn in and all just sorts
Does
of
it do
little
background
details.
screening?
Background,
it's
yeah,
all-
interviews,
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things you have to get done. Yeah, some of the departments, within the White House, once you're selected, will also ask for an interview to further screen candidates. So there's just a lot of moving parts. So you want to just get on top of it as fast as you can.
So when we say internship in White House, is this referring to a specific department in White House, or that
Yeah.
could be?
Yeah, all the interns are divided into different departments within the White House. There's a lot of different departments. So basically how that works is in your application you could indicate which areas you're interested in, which departments you're interested in, and the departments will look through all the interns and decide which ones they think will best fit their functions and will do the best in their department.
Yeah, so just to give some examples of some of the departments, there's the Office of the Switchboard, which helps connect phone calls for the president. There's the Office of Legislative Affairs. They basically help manage the relations between the White House and
Yep.
Congress.
Yep.
Then there's the National Economic Council, which Daisy served in. She could tell you a little more about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then I was in the Office of Presidential Correspondence, which is a public-facing communications department. Basically, they handle all the incoming emails, mails, phone calls, gifts from the public to the White House. And on top of that, they handle a couple of other projects. So my role specifically had to do with a little bit more research.
Mhm.
Okay. So does it depend on if you go to like Ivy League school, or doesn't really matter?
No, I think one of the great things is
they look
like
at any SATs or
well, I think all the interns, there was a very, very diverse set of backgrounds and diverse set
see.
of interests. So there were kids from all different states, all different universities. There definitely isn't a specific type of candidate they're looking for. I think a few of the things that they're really looking for is someone who's committed to public service, someone who has demonstrated leadership in their community, and those are the two most important
is
things.
there an entrance test or something like that, or?
No, there's no
no
tests.
exam. But and they're not looking for Harvard, Yale, Princeton on your resume. What they're looking for is somebody who's demonstrated leadership in whatever they're passionate about. So, for example, we had a friend who started a nonprofit that helped poor families that were suffering from certain diseases. And she didn't go to a great school or anything, but she really demonstrated a commitment to helping other people, and that's what they care about.
So, all right, you go through the application process, you get selected. So they email you and they'll let you know by
Yeah.
mail or snail mail or email, or let you know, right, that you're
Yes, yeah,
selected.
they'll email you.
Yeah. What happens once you go there?
Well, once you go there, I guess when we can speak from our personal experience, like what the interns did. I was in the National Economic Council, so they provide policy advice to the president on any sort of economic matters. So my role as an intern there, I was assigned to a certain person in the department, and I would basically help them with whatever they needed. So I would help them with writing memos, doing research, sitting in on meetings, and my work kind of varied day by day depending on what they were working on and what was necessary. But yeah, that was basically my general duties there.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, you are too crisp. I'll grill you more on that. What about you, Dennis?
You're talking about the day-to-day responsibilities. Basically, I help do some research. There's some restrictions on what we can say about
I understand.
specifics.
Yeah, let me put a disclaimer to viewers. Today's show is purely educational in nature. It's not political inclined in any way. So the guests in our show are not going to talk about any of their personal political inclinations. Purely educational, related to the internship and the application process and the roles and responsibilities. Go ahead. So, okay, so you don't have to be, on that note, you don't have to be politically inclinated inclined to to get any of these?
Oh no. To get the position, absolutely not. I mean, I have friends who are in the program who are Democrats, who are Republicans, and who are somewhere in the middle who hadn't even decided yet. But they were there because they were passionate about leadership and about helping people, and that's all they care about. So, but you do have to be willing to do your job, you know. So in that sense, you have to be willing to work toward the president's overarching agenda. You can't just say, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
So from a skill perspective, do you need to know any specific technology, or do you need to have any specific professional skill for this job, or?
It varies a little bit by department. There's definitely some departments that are more like technology oriented, with like photography, things like that, that you probably have to have certain skills. But for a lot of them, it's mostly like on the job sort of training, and they'll tell you exactly what you need to know, and all the supervisors are very patient, very kind, and they'll teach you kind of what you need to know.
Yeah, within the application itself, there's a section where you can list all the skills that you have. So, for example, if you know economic modeling, then maybe National Economic Council might take you. But at the same time, yeah, you can learn on the job, because a lot of this stuff is stuff that won't carry over from the private sector. You know, new things that you've never seen before.
Right, so you get your ID cards when you get there and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm assuming there's a lot of security, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it feels good to be able to.
Feels good, yeah. 'Cause you can flash your
go
car all the
in.
time.
Yeah.
You put on your decal on your car. I'm kidding. So did you ever get a chance to meet Mr. President, or?
We actually were lucky enough to take a class photo with him. For many years, presidents have been taking class photos with their interns.
Yeah.
So we got that chance, and then on top of that, we got to see just different high-level secretaries in and around the building.
Yeah.
I remember once I was exiting one of the buildings and I saw Mike Pence come in. So I just, I kind of just
that's cool.
fangirled. Hi, and he said, "Hello, young man."
Yeah.
So it felt nice.
What about you? Did you get a chance to meet any of the big
Yeah, I
shots?
mean, just walking around the building in the complex, a lot of times you'll just run into random people, so you never really know who you're going to encounter. But working in the NEC, we had, like, all the interns in my department had the privilege of meeting Director Larry Kudlow, who was a former CNBC contributor. He's our director, so he met with us a few times, and we actually had lunch with him, and we got to ask him so many questions. He was such an accomplished, such an amazing guy, so it was really a privilege to get to meet him and talk to him a lot.
So what department was yours? What department did you work in?
It was presidential correspondence.
I see.
So
I see.
yeah, it basically revolves around communications with the public, and it's ranked under the Department of the Staff Secretary. So they're the ones who control the paperwork to and from the president's desk.
So do you sign on anybody's behalf, or you just take calls? No?
I'm just the middleman.
It's a middleman, huh? It's the postman.
Pass along the information. that's
Okay.
all.
What about you? Which department were you in?
I was in the National Economic Council.
What does that deal with?
So they provide policy advice, economic and international, domestic and international policy advice to the president, and they make sure that whatever the president, all the agendas and everything the president is doing is going along with his overall economic plan for the United States. And so Larry Kudlow was the director for us, and a lot of hardworking people there.
Do you see any governors there occasionally? Any state governors?
We can't talk about exactly who we saw, but there's
You
of
don't have to
course
take names.
a lot
In
of-
general,
yeah,
in general.
In general, there's of course there's people from Congress and people who
Yeah.
come from not just the public sector, but also the private sector. People who have ideas about how to reform this particular thing or this particular law, and the White House does take their suggestions very seriously.
I see. So how was it working together? I know it's very rare
Yeah,
that two interns are related to each other.
it was an amazing
Especially
experience.
this close. You're like what, a minute older than him?
Yeah, 1 minute,
yeah.
1 minute
Oh,
difference.
that's
Still have
right. You gotta listen to her. You gotta listen to her.
Yeah, of course.
She's older.
No, it was an amazing experience. I mean, it's such an honor to even be able to go there and
Right.
to be able to share it with Dennis made it even more special. And like we've been apart last year at different colleges in different states, so it was really nice to be able to reconnect and live together for 2 months. It was a great experience.
So how many interns? What about you? How did you feel?
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, when you first walk into these historical buildings
Right.
and you see 125 kids who are smarter than you are and who you never met before, you're nervous, and so it's nice to have a friendly face there.
Yeah.
So how many people? How many interns are there? 125.
Somewhere in that ballpark, about, and it's about the same number every class.
Okay. So every class meaning every season.
Every
Yes,
season.
yeah, 3 seasons in a year.
Right. What are your plans? How does this help you? And what do you think?
Well, I loved my experience there. in the short term, want to go to investment banking and finance. And then eventually I want to take what I learned in the private sector and bring that back to government. So I'll get back involved in government at some point and maybe bring some of that efficiency and that effectiveness in the private sector to hopefully helping people.
What are some of the things you learned as part of your day-to-day activities? Did that make you a better person? Did you learn some leadership skills or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just being able to go, like some of the people I was assigned to work in the NEC, they're so hardworking. They're having meetings all day long. So it was amazing just to see that work ethic and that passion to really serving the people of the United States. That was amazing to witness. And of course, you see you see like the outcome of like everything the White House is doing, but to actually be able to witness like the actual process that has to go through to get passed was also really, really cool.
Yeah, some of these people are just absolutely brilliant. Some of these staffers, they could be in the private sector making $1 million a year.
And some are all.
All of them. Oh, come on, all of them. Okay. They're all really smart, and they could be doing anything they want, but they're here because they want to give back. They care about their country, and they think this is where they can make the most impact. So being able to spend a summer with these people was a huge privilege.
Right.
Can you go back as intern again, as part of some of the courses? It's like once in a lifetime.
Oh, that depends on you. It depends if you did a good job or not.
Okay.
But yeah, if you did a good job, then you can definitely go back. Sometimes people do go back to a different department or sometimes the same department if they really enjoyed that. So yeah, it's perfectly possible.
Yeah, and some people transitioned into full-time jobs in the White House as well. If they do a good job, if they're really passionate about it, that's also an option.
Yeah.
So you can be a repeat customer.
Yes, you can.
So what's your favorite part working there?
I think one of the favorite events that I went to is my supervisor invited.
Aside from getting a chance to meet people.
Yeah, of course. I got a chance to go to, it was the 6-month celebration of President Trump's tax reform in the East Wing. I got to stay in the room as he gave his presentation, and he had a few families there who were positively impacted from the tax reform. So it was amazing to just witness that firsthand as he was speaking, and there were so many top-level administrators there. So it was a really, really cool event to just witness firsthand.
What do you think?
Yeah, I feel the same way. There's so many cool events that we got to take part in. So, for example, we helped volunteer at the 4th of July celebration at the White House. So every year they have a huge fireworks. The president will stand on the balcony with the first lady. They'll look out, and it's just an amazing event. And we were there, and we were not just celebrating the birth of America, but also America's veterans. So it was so nice being able to volunteer there because you can hand ice cream to the kids who are of these soldiers who are, finally back in America for a little bit, and who were invited to this event. So it's just such an amazing time.
Yeah.
So did you work in any other private enterprise or private sector before?
Well, last summer we interned at the Treasury, but that wasn't private. But other than that, I think most of our stuff has been public sector.
Yeah, it's been public sector. Of course, at our schools, we do some work. Like I work in the tech crew. Daisy works as an office assistant.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how different do you feel working in like a public
private versus public
place versus private? Do you notice that difference?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. I think
it's more formal.
Well, yeah, it's a lot more formal. I mean, White House is suit and tie every day.
Yeah.
Your tie is crooked, and someone's going to tell you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the dress code.
Yeah. No, it's this
is professional.
Can you tie your tie?
Yes.
I struggle sometimes.
I can't. I don't make Daisy do it for me anymore.
No.
He's younger. You got to make him.
Yeah, I got to make him do it for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a difference. I think because this is the White House, the pace is a lot faster here because there's always something new happening, some new twist in the story that you have to suddenly work on. So I think the White House is definitely a very, very fast-paced organization, maybe a little bit different from other government organizations. So I don't know if you can necessarily compare the White House to, say, the New Jersey Treasury or Senator Thompson's office. But it's very fast-paced.
Also because maybe it's the term of the opportunity. It's only the short 10-week term. It's not like a 4-year or 5-year term. So you got a lot more things to accomplish in a lot shorter time, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
so how did you feel on the first day when you went to the White House?
Oh yeah, it was amazing just to walk through the gates. Go through the security checks, see all the other interns that you would be spending the next 10 weeks with. It was like surreal, really. But it was amazing opportunity. I was very grateful the entire time. You know, sometimes throughout the 10 weeks, you kind of forget like, oh, I'm entering the gates of the White House. But that first day, for sure, like I was aware of everything for sure. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah,
What was your first day, apart from the crooked tie? Anything else? Any
No,
other bloopers?
Well, you know, you just walk in and you're hit with this sense of history, right? You go and this is there's places in that building that are hundreds of years old, you know, where every single president has stood. So it's just amazing. But we have had bloopers though. You know, sometimes everything hasn't been perfect.
Yeah.
I remember once one of our bosses introduced us to someone at the State Department, a pretty senior official.
And
there.
you didn't know who that guy was?
Well, we knew who he was. We were supposed to meet him before work one day at Pete's Coffee, which is near the White House.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, when we arrived there early, we realized that he was in a completely different Pete's 4 blocks away. So we just dashed, and we probably broke a world record. We were running and running.
That's embarrassing.
Oh boy, and I remember I turned around and we were almost there. I turned around, I ushered Daisy, come. We were panting, and then I turned around and I saw him just staring at me. Probably we scared him a little bit. You know, this big guy at the State Department, he was wondering why we're panting and running there. So, you know, we had some bloopers, but I think overall everyone's really understanding. You know,
Yeah.
they were kids too once, they understand.
Yeah. Did you have any funny experiences?
Just minor things. I think that was probably the biggest blooper that we
Daisy
encountered
was so
together.
perfect, right? She was
Yeah,
perfect.
No, we both played a part in that one. I think just, you know, whenever you're first going there's going to be a learning curve. So you make minor mistakes, but again, all of our supervisors were very kind, very understanding and patient. So they taught us everything we need to know and really helped us to learn the ropes.
So what was the first day when you go there? So they give you like a sheet with all the tasks list for the entire thing, or does it change on a daily basis?
Well, the first day we had a bit of an orientation, so they kind of told us, like, this is what's expected of you, this is how you're supposed to handle yourself, like, on the White House complex, and we were introduced with the people we would be working with and with their supervisors, and they had a bit of an orientation session, which was really helpful. They told us exactly what we need to do, and then from there on, they gave us, like, a list of tasks, and we were all assigned to different people in the department, and things kind of progressed from there. So.
What about you? What do you think? You were handed, like, a list of Herculean tasks on the first day?
No, I think it's more like they train you on the job, you know, and every day it's a little bit different. Okay. But for correspondence, our overarching mission was always the same, right? So once you got past those first couple of days, then you knew what to do for the rest of it, you know, and all that happened was you got better and faster at it.
Can you bring any family in the course time, or can you bring like dad or mom?
Yeah, we can. They're pretty generous about that. They let the interns schedule a tour for their family, so they can go into the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is the giant administrative building next to the White House, where a lot of the work takes place. Mm-hmm. And then also they can organize East Wing tour. So the White House is split into the East Wing, which is largely ceremonial, and the West Wing, which is where a lot of the work takes place. And then, of course, in the middle you have the residential area.
I think East Wing is also residential. So.
Yeah, the East Wing, also part of that is also residential, but you have some offices there. So yeah, we can tour the East Wing. West Wing, not so much because there's work happening there. But all the interns actually got a West Wing tour, so that was very cool. That's where the Oval Office is.
Right. So when you joined there for the first day, does the president come there to meet you, to greet you?
Not the first day, no, but
no, that's a little ambitious.
A few weeks later, we did get to, he came a few weeks later. But,
does he or she address the graduating class every year or every season?
No, we had a few speakers. Our final speaker was General Mattis. He came and spoke to us, but the president, I'm sure he was traveling or he was, busy running the country, so he didn't give us a farewell address. But we were very privileged to actually see him a few times.
Yeah. Oh, he of course, he wants to spend as much time with us as he can, but he's the president of the United States.
Yeah, does he?
This way, that way, this way, that way.
Yeah, so he does what he can.
So. Yeah.
So the class of students you had, were they when they select students, do they diversify, or is it like certain number of females and males, or just?
Yeah, I think they do try to get a diverse pool of students just to best represent the country and best represent best represent the country. So they had a very diverse mix. There was a lot of people from different backgrounds with different experiences. So they're all very brilliant, very ambitious. It was amazing working with them.
Yeah. Did you notice the diversity in your class?
Yeah, there was a lot of diversity. A lot of people who came from Asian backgrounds. A lot of Indians were there actually. but not just diversity in terms of skin color. There was also diversity or gender. There was also diversity in background. They came from every state in the United States.
Yeah.
They came from every walk of life. So I think that was even more interesting maybe than the racial element.
Yeah.
So talking about the application process, how hectic is it? I mean, how, for example, let's say a student wants to apply in spring, right, or fall. How many weeks before should he start or she start, and what should they collect as part of their documentation? You want to talk about
yeah,
that?
so for us, we were applying for the internship that was in the summer, so it started on May 30th, and the deadline was, I believe it was around January 10th, like the first week of January, so that's a good 5 months in advance. So that's kind of the timeline that you should expect. But I guess things to collect in terms of application, you need to start working on the different essays, because there's a lot of different things to write, and then start connecting with different people you think that can write your recommendation letters, start figuring out what you're interested in so you can know what department you would like to go into.
What do you think, Dennis?
Yeah, I think that's good advice, and I think you should start early and really think out all your responses, and then on top of that, reach out to people who know you, who can write those letters of rec. It doesn't have to be the most famous person if your uncle's uncle is a congressman, you don't need to ask them to write a letter of rec. Find someone who knows you, who maybe could be your boss at your pizza store that you worked at.
Right.
But if he can vouch for your work ethic and your character, that's the best person. So find those people, and of course get as involved as you can. Put good things on your resume so that they can see that you are passionate about leadership.
So from an application process perspective, did you think you missed something? Or any recommendations or suggestions for people? Or you wish you'd done differently from an application perspective?
I'd say I wish we had started earlier. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I think we would
Okay.
give that advice to
Yeah,
anyone.
early's good.
Yeah,
Early's good.
yeah.
Early's good.
We waited until like our Christmas break to really get started on it, which
Right.
only left a few weeks. So I think if we had started working earlier, it probably would have helped us and caused a lot less stress.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think if we had maybe known about the internship earlier, because we found out about it and then we applied, but I think if we had known a couple of months in advance, we would have done it then and just gotten it right out of the way. And there's of course documentation and things like that you have to complete, so it's just hassle-free if you do that.
Right. So that's the key. Early
Early bird gets the
is
worm.
the key.
Yeah.
All right. So what are other opportunities in DC or White House aside from internship? Did you see there's any job opportunities or?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one of the I think biggest sources of jobs and internships for young people is Congress. I think that if you're not sure where you want to intern but you want something in government, Congress is a fantastic place. In DC, everyone calls it the Hill, and basically every congressman has at least one office, but I think some of them have many. So for example, Paul Ryan, the Speaker, has I think over a dozen offices, and every single one of those take interns. So if you can just reach out to your local congressman and say, hey, I'm interested in internship, maybe they'll place you in DC, maybe they'll place you in one of their offices within your local area, and you're going to get the chance to meet some really interesting people and hopefully really build a foothold in politics that can teach you a lot. A lot of the people we actually ended up working with at the White House internship program were former Congress interns. So that just shows that there's definitely some transferable skills.
So if I were to ask you, what are the 3 things or 2 things you want to suggest to applicants or aspirants, what would they be?
I guess my number one thing is just...
From your experience.
Yeah, from my experience, I would say the number one thing is just to get involved in whatever you're interested in, because the White House is really looking for you to get involved in something and really show commitment and leadership in that. It doesn't have to be political. It's just something you're interested in, something you're passionate about, and to really put all your energy into it, and that the fruits of that will really show your character and your work ethic for them.
How about you?
I agree with that. I mean, if your passion is to build birdhouses and you build the best birdhouses in the country, then you have a shot. So it doesn't matter what your passion is, follow that and you have a shot at getting into the White House or anywhere really. But follow your passion. And then number 2, I think you should reach out to older people who can help you. A lot of times when you're 15, 19, 22, there are doors that are open for you that won't be open when you're, say, 30. So I think that you have to kind of ignore that rush of nervousness that you're going to get when you think about reaching out to some big guy who's successful, and just go for it. Because a lot of times those guys who are at the top, they'll do the same for you if you're brave enough to just reach out.
All right, good luck. So on behalf of our viewers, that's all the time we have. On behalf of viewers and TV5, wish you good luck
Thank you
in
so
your
much.
future endeavors, and we
Thank
hope to
you.
see you again in the White House.
Really
Okay?
appreciate it. Thank
All right,
you.
that's all the
Yeah.
time we have. Today's show. We'll meet you next week again with another topic. Until then, thank you. Jai Hind. God bless.